Hello, can everybody hear me? Hello, hello.
Good morning, Mr. Ashish Puntambekar, on the dais of Vstrut Marketing Private Limited, and currently we're gonna hold one webinar on the occasion of World Environmental Day, and I just want to get started. Thank you, Ashishji. Now further things are in your hand. Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks, Omkar. Okay, I hope everybody is on the show. Monesh, Dr. Bhave, Colonel Monesh Ahuja, Dr. Bhave, Dr. One second. Everybody is on the show. One second. So we have 6 speakers today, and the first to speak will be since Dr. Rachna hasn't yet joined. We will be first. Dr. Prashant Bhave will be addressing us, and then it will be followed by Colonel Monish Ahuja and myself, and then Mrs. Chitralekha Vaidya and Ambassador Dr. Philip H. Mozart and Mozart Thomas and Mr. Shrikant M. Parab. So this is the Vstrut's 2020 Vedic function, which is the world on the occasion of World Environment Day. And see, what has happened is since December, we've had problems. The Earth has been showing us that it's not very happy with what is happening. This is nature responding. So we've had the COVID-19 virus, spread across the world since December and early January. Then we've had locust swarms coming into India, and then more recently we've had the cyclone Amphan on the east coast, which devastated both Orissa and Bengal. And on the west coast, we've recently had cyclone Nisarg. So when Omkar and Anand suggested we do this function, I said let's get some eminent speakers on board and have them share their views. So this is the stage that is set. So I would just like to invite some of the speakers. The first speaker, Dr. Prashant Bhave, to kindly address us with his thoughts. Oh, Rachna has just joined us. So, Rachna, would you like to speak first? You were scheduled because you got to go somewhere after some time, I believe. So, would you come in first?
Next, is that okay?
Yeah. So nice to see you, Rachna. Yeah. I'm
Same
so
here.
happy. So, can you? I think I'll just ask Omkar and Anand to put your presentation on the other side, and then all of us can watch it. So, Omkar
Yeah,
and Anand,
sure.
yeah, can you just put Dr. Rachna Kulkarni's presentation at my place where I am on the screen, or you can make the format. So, just can you please proceed with that?
Yeah. Do you want me to start?
Yeah, you start. I'm just hoping they put on your presentation on the other side. So your few
Okay.
slides. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, there it comes. So basically, this was a very short notice. We all planned to organize this and set it up. So the idea of having this on the World Environment Day was to understand what we are really doing to the world. We need to understand that this situation that we are in is all man created, right? We all have come to agree to that. Now on the other hand, if we really look at what is happening on today's day for the COVID situation, in COVID times we are ignoring completely the waste management that we were supposed to do. The during the COVID times we should have been more careful with the waste that we are managing or how we are managing the waste. We Can you hear me? Okay. So we would like to, Prakriti Sanrachna believes in talking about only waste management and where we can sync it with the environment. And that's the name Prakriti Sanrachna. And we'll just speak very focused on two things. The first thing is whether the waste management in COVID times and how we are managing it. You see, everybody is using masks nowadays. A lot of people who are more affluent are using disposable masks. There are some people who decided to get into uh, um, some people who decided to get into PPE equipment just because they need to travel in an aeroplane. But all this is not required. When and nobody even cares how they dispose the masks. I have seen people, even doctors, some doctors who do home visit, they will ask for a PPE equipment, they will wear the PPE equipment, and they dispose the PPE equipment just on the way. Is that really right? There are some people who wear the mask. If they have coughed or spit or something like that, they will throw the mask on the road. That is not done. That is not the way we are supposed to manage our waste. These coughing, sneezing, the whole idea is to wear, when you're wearing a mask, that your aerosols should not travel anywhere, right? Now if that is what is to be done, then those masks, whatever we are wearing, needs to be disposed either as hazardous waste or at least as biomedical waste, marked as biomedical waste and treated as biomedical waste. How many people in the normal janta today are keeping their masks or disposable masks into a separate bag and marking them as biomedical waste? Can you imagine what is going to happen if people just travel in the airport and they wear the PPE equipment and they travel in the airport and then they go out and they throw it in the kachre ka dabba? It'll end up in a landfill. So you protected yourself, but then you have infected at least 1,000 other people by throwing it in the landfill, because air doesn't understand that that air which has got contaminated has to come only back to you. It will travel to another 1,000 people. So this is something we need to really pay attention to, how to manage the waste, the hazardous waste, or in this kind of a situation. Now, the next question also which comes to our mind is, so I'll summarize here on the waste, that the waste can live, the virus can live on surfaces for many, many days. So there is an urgent need for all of us to put the hazardous waste things into the hazardous waste category, and it should be treated as hazardous waste, whether it is incinerated, it is sterilized and again incinerated, because any kind of biomedical waste or hazardous waste needs to be incinerated. You cannot reuse PPE equipment. There are a lot of false hopes given to people that PPE equipment can be sanitized and reused again. No, that cannot be done. Please do not do it for your own safety, for anybody else's safety. Okay. Now the next question that a lot of people have asked me is whether the virus lives in the wastewater. The virus does not live in the wastewater. As of now, there is no data that says that the virus lives in the wastewater. Let us understand that this virus is an upper respiratory tract organism. Okay, if we all have understood that very well, because we are all wearing masks so that it does not we do not contract any disease through the air. So it is an airborne disease, so it will not come into us through any water or wastewater. So be rest assured that even if the rains come, the virus is not going to spread through the wastewater. Now, why am I saying this so confidently? I'm saying this so confidently because it's an upper respiratory tract organism. It is infecting your lungs. Worst comes worse, if it has to travel down, it will travel down to your intestine. Your intestine has a very, very low pH. Acidity hota hai na sab log ko. So it has a very low pH, so it will kill the organism over there. Suppose even if it tries to survive over there and it comes out of the sewage into the sewage treatment plant. At the sewage treatment plant also there are aeration which is happening, there are pH controls which are happening, then there is MLSS, and there is a multiple amount of organisms which live in the sewage treatment plant. So just like there are bacteriophages in the sewage treatment plant, there are also virophages in the sewage treatment plant. So this virus cannot live in the sewage treatment plant or in the wastewater treatment plant. However, as microbiologists, we have suggested to most of the people who have consulted us that for your own reassurance, where you want to recycle the water, you can recycle it with a high amount of residual ppm after the tertiary treatment. Now, this is completely dependent on what kind of a treatment process is going on. However, this does not definitely mean that you're supposed to throw away all the water and waste all the water. No. Air, water, all the Panchamahabhut are very, very important. We should not ignore any of that. This needs to be treated properly and treated in the right way. Okay, it will not live in the wastewater, it will not live in the sewage, it will not live in any of the other uh, uh, equipment which is not used or sterilized. If it is sterilized, many simple methods of sterilization at home are: you can simply take a reusable mask or a cloth mask. If you are using, take that mask, put it in the pressure cooker for 6-7 whistles. It will work like an autoclave. Then your mask is reusable, only if it is a reusable mask. Do not throw masks out in the open. It's extremely, I mean, I would rather say that it is extremely criminal to do that. Please do not do that. And be healthy, be safe. Wish you all a very, very happy World Environment Day. Thank you.
Request Dr. Prashant Bhave to kindly tell us his thoughts on this subject matter, which is just being put before you. Hello.
Good afternoon and namaskar. First of all, I Vstrut for organizing such an event to make the people aware of the step which is taken. Vstrut itself means vast, detailed. And then the name of this webinar is Vedic, which also comes from our scriptures, olden scriptures. If I can see I can see the presentation over there, which talks about the Pancha Mahabhuta, which the earlier speaker also said it, which has got air, water, fire, soil, akash. So in this, if we talk about the Pancha Mahabhuta, the same, our body, human body is also constituted of these Pancha Mahabhutas. And so, the earth. So if I say that two-thirds of the earth is water, the same way our human body also has got two-thirds of water. Air, which is without which we know that how important the air is for the earth. Same way, it is important to a human life. And we say that it is Mother Earth. Why we call it as Mother Earth? Because Mother, she is the only creature which gives everything to the kids without expecting anything. And that is why the Mother Earth. Now, on World Environment Day, when we are talking about it, is the environment new to us? We have studied in our preschool days, our kids, those who are going to the, not the kindergarten, I'm talking about the preschool. And from there, we travel. Do we study about the environment? Yes, we do. Our kids are told about water. Our kids are told about what is good, what is bad. We come to the school level, secondary school, where we are taught, we learn about the various elements of environment. Further, we graduate to the education or the graduate studies over there. Since I am involved with the academics in the area of environmental engineering, I'm talking about it, but even the other academia also talks about the environment. If we talk about the environment, I will tell you something. that the course or the elements related to the environment were put into the curriculum of graduate engineering courses. But the attention which was paid to it was meager, little. Then, one fine morning, the AICT, the supreme body which decides upon what kind of education we have to give, they said it that no one is listening to our directives of talking about the basics of environment to be included as in all the courses, in all the curriculum. Ultimately, it went to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said it that nothing doing. All the courses, may it be the computer engineering, mechanical engineering, or whatnot, chemical is does include. But other engineering also have to study environmental engineering, environmental studies as the course matter or as a subject, which is non-credit course. You have to appear for the exam. Why? Because it has come realizing, understanding the importance of it. And then further, if we talk about the postgraduate studies or the doctoral works in the area of environmental related education, those are very much focused and they talk about a particular element of environment or the environmental pollution. So we are connected with the environment and the education of environment right from our childhood. Normally, what we understand from the organization or the practicing professionals, and after the graduation, I said it that after the graduation or the post graduation, he enters into the professional life. The student enters into the professional life. What we understand from the organizations is that there is a disconnect. The fresh engineer or the fresh graduate or the postgraduate who comes to us is less known about the field. Meaning is that there is a disconnect. No, I'm sorry. I don't accept this because once upon a time I was also a student. Once upon a time you were also a student. Today, my panelists, those who are the experts in the area of environment, they are sitting over there. They were the students. Yes, there are lacunas, there are shortcomings, but they are going through the various kinds of training and understand about the environment. They may be little low, yes. So this disconnect, I would like to give you some of the examples how we are into the environment and the environmental education. As a school kid, I am taught not to throw the toffee wrapper outside and we put it in the dustbin. What is it? It is the solid waste management. It is the waste management which is taught. May it be 1 gram or 2 grams of the waste which I am producing, the same is produced by the family, same is produced by the society, same is produced by the township, same is produced by the city. We call it as the solid waste management. Very, very important area today we are practicing or today we are working in it and we don't have a solution to it. I will share one of my experience when I was for my doctoral work in a renowned Institute of Chemical Technology in Prague, Europe. I was standing one evening in the gallery and it was a very good climate. I was on the 11th floor. I had a few paper strips in my hand, a few centimeters, 6-7 centimeters by 2 centimeters. And one of the paper slips slipped from my hand and it started rolling into the outside area, which there was a huge expanse of lush green outside, few hectares of it, and it was flying. Aerodynamically, it was moving into the air, and I was observing how beautifully it was flying like a kite, and I was noting it down, I was looking at it, I was very happy. Second time it has happened, third time I did it. And then I called my European neighbor who was in my room listening to some music. I said, Lukash, come out, see, what is it? And when he saw, he didn't look at anything else. When he saw some of the strips and I'm throwing a strip outside, a paper, he shouted, hey, what are you doing? I said, what happened? He said that, I said, look at the paper. It's rolling in the air and it's moving so beautifully. He didn't look at it. He said that, if everyone starts doing it, what will happen? It was something where I started thinking that, oh, so this is something where the environment education comes in our life. And the way we take it, yes, we all religiously follow our kids, they follow nowadays. They throw the wrapper into the dustbin. We, as a parent, we also do that. Now, when it comes to the secondary education, what do? We learn about the respiratory system, lungs. Nowadays, everyone is aware of it. Did you study it separately? No. We know the function, we know about air, we know about water. The same way, when you graduate, when you enter into the graduation studies, my graduate students, they are working on the environment project. And then recently we went to Lakshadweep, a group of 8 students, a postgraduate student. What did we do there? We have studied about the water, wastewater, and the solid waste management in Lakshadweep. Our report is submitted to Government of India. It is going to be submitted. We were in December over there. They didn't do anything different than a consultant or a renowned consultant or anybody doing that. Whatever they have done, they have, on the contrary, they have done it religiously. They studied about the water, which is because it is a water scarce island. Wastewater is not managed over there. Solid waste is a huge problem now coming up over there. Our report is submitted over there. Then it has come to when we talk about, I had an opportunity to visit to Antarctica. What did I do over there? What was my scientific task as an Indian scientific team member? To study about water and the wastewater. How is it managed on the Antarctic land, on the Indian station? I did the same theory which was there with some of my experience and the practices. I shared all those. I do share all those things with my students. They learn from it. We do consultations. I'm very much into the consultancy in the various areas. One of the recent experience, recent in the sense it's also 7-8 years old. One of the automobile industry, a renowned automobile industry, wanted to double their production, double their capacity. But the norms anywhere are not permitting now to expand by a single vehicle. They did double it. How? So that all, whatever study we have done, is definitely the students were not involved in that. But yes, so that is possible. These experiences we share. One synthetic chemical industry which has doubled up their, not doubled up, which has closed down their synthetic chemicals, which are specialty chemicals, a renowned chemical industry. I don't want to name over here in Madhya Pradesh. They added 18 new chemicals for which getting permission is impossible because I had fortunately worked with the Environment Committee for Government of India also. It is difficult, not only difficult, you won't get permission for these chemicals because it requires n number of compliances to be completed. But they could get it. Why? Because you have to fit it properly into the system. And that was a project which was done by our institute, ICT, together. All these experiences we do share with our students, and our students are coming out after this, and then they come and start working in the field. So just I want to say that the students, those who are coming out, they may be lacking, they may be short of something. There are lacuna with the institutes also. There are lacuna with the faculty also. But the student is a student and he is prepared. But industry's expectation at times is that we want a ripe fruit. We want a student coming over here, he goes to the field, collects everything, the data, and then gives us ready on the table. No, it takes time for a student to get into the environment. And mind it, my students are doing really well. Not only my students, all those who belong to such kind of institutes where the teachers and the students work in harmony. I just want to say at the end that we need to start understanding, accepting, and practicing environment as a philosophy of our life. And definitely, when we all work in harmony, the teaching institutes and the industry, Definitely, we are going to grow a lot. And I once again wish everyone with the greetings of World Environment Day. I congratulate my students, those who are there on the dais also. Chitralekha is there, Omkar is there, and they are also doing well. And all the experts, those who are there for their thoughts. Thank you very much. I think I am in time. I have not taken. Yes.
Thank you, Professor Dr. Bhave. It's been really great pleasure that on a very short notice you made it available, and on the occasion of very auspicious World Environment Day. And this is just a beginning. We have started this Vedic 2020. This is gonna be a series, and
Yeah.
your unconditional love would be there forever.
Yeah. Only
So,
one sentence I want to say. I
sure.
liked your line of angry planet and a small step. Beautiful line. Beautiful line.
Yeah, this line has been introduced by Mr. Ashish Puntambe. Yeah,
Oh,
Ashish.
lovely, lovely, lovely. We all have to
Uh,
walk.
Thank you, Dr.
Correct.
Bhave. It has been a pleasure listening to you. You know, when professors like you teach these students, finally it is these kids who go into the field and create game changing environmental projects. You know, the amount of learning that happens in the class with you teaching them, finally, these large projects, when they happen, they really are game changing in the way they, so, they're game changing in the way they affect the environment. And it's basically, one of our very senior people that I was once listening to. He said, "See, theory. There's no difference between theory and practical. What you learn in class is finally executed on the ground, and one has to understand that." So I would really like to thank Dr. Bhabe for his
Thank you.
excellent presentation, and thank you very much, sir. I'll
Thank you,
now
sir.
call I'll now call in the next speaker, Colonel Monish Ahuja. Monish is the chairman and managing director of PRESPL. He runs this. They make briquettes and from farm waste and farm residues, and they deploy it in power plants and other facilities that generate electricity. So Monish is going to speak, and he's going to speak on the subject circular economy and the farm economy. And we've heard him before in October, and I'm sure you'd like to hear his views today also. He's an excellent speaker. So he's speaking without a presentation, and he's going to be, you'll hear him. So I'd like to invite Monish. Monish, please come in and give us your views. Thank you so much.
Thanks to Vstrut team for inviting me on the occasion of World Environment Day for this all-important webinar. Uh, and I wish the co-panelists and the viewers who are there on this live webinar greetings on the World Environment Day. What we do, and I want to present a small case study here in how we are able to work with the agriculture farm waste and bring that into a circular economy framework and do energy, which is decentralized renewable energy, but energy not in the form of electricity, energy in the form of briquettes and pellets. So that's a green biocoal, replacing fossil fuel, replacing coal, furnace oil, diesel, CNG in some cases as well, and creating a rural to urban, rural to industrial network and linkage, where for industrial energy purposes of steam, where industrial steam is now generated through biomass. This is also a newer form of bioenergy where we are replacing all the fossil fuels, utilizing the agriculture residue. Last year, on 15th of August, Honorable Prime Minister from Red Fort made a clarion call of Annadata se Urja Data, and that's exactly what we do. We take the farm waste and agriculture waste, which has no economic value for the farmer because there is no market for it. and we create a localized rural market for the farmer, and then utilize this farm waste for its energy value to take it to many value streams. Um, the easiest of them is to burn it in a controlled environment, and that's something which we do. But the other bioenergy forms of converting it into compressed biogas, bio CNG, compressed biogas for replacement of LPG, taking it to biofuels. In the entire value chain, we work in my company, Punjab Renewable Energy Systems Private Limited. How do we do it, and how does the circular economy work? This is something which we are learning while on the job. So we do what we do, but as we have been doing it now for 1 decade, we have been getting constant audits, reviews done by global experts, and we ourselves are astonished most of the times that when we do this work, the kind of benefits that we accrue out of it towards the environment. So recently, last week, an independent audit was done by one of the global agencies for looking at the tons of CO2 equivalent that potentially we would mitigate if we replace the CNG which is being used in a project at a location with biomass. So how does this work? The carbon dioxide from the atmosphere is utilized for the growth of a plant. So all agriculture crops, they utilize the carbon dioxide from the atmosphere in their growth phase. Once the agriculture crop is mature enough for harvest and the farmer now has a value for the produce, and we also know the amount of farm distress and agriculture distress is which is there because the farmers do not get the commensurate value for their produces. Uh, so assuming that the farmers got the value for the produce, what is left of the entire plant is quite a big content which does not have value, but that is biomass, that is energy. So that's what we do. We get into the fields, we create rural entrepreneurship. So we empower the rural youth, and we call them VLEs, village level entrepreneurs. And these entrepreneurs we support with farm equipment, which they utilize to enter into their fields, their neighbors' fields, and be able to bring out post-harvest the agriculture residue or the farm waste which is left in the fields. Once they bring it out, we aggregate it at the collection centers, depots, warehouses, which we create and manage. So this VLE transfers the ownership of this farm waste at this collection center, and they get paid over there. So now to do this, there is some amount of carbon which is burnt in the form of diesel for the tractors, running the tractors in the fields, removing it from there, bringing it to storage. So we are, in a way, polluting the environment to some extent by utilizing some amount of carbon in the diesel. Further, at the collection center or depot, there is some processing and pre-processing done for this agriculture waste, so that we can densify it into briquettes and pellets. And from there, so even in the densification, we use energy in the forms of electricity. So these are rural industrial plants which we set up, and so assuming that all the electricity used there is from coal, using electric power stations. So again, we are contributing to some amount of CO2 going into the atmosphere. Uh, After doing that, we transport this briquettes to a client site, which could be anything between 200 to 300 kilometers, and replace the fossil fuel which the client is using at the site. So in this particular case, it is CNG. The number, and it's a small number, but this particular site in Pune, uh, for their steam, when we replace CNG, requires 1,800 metric tons of biomass. It's a very small number, very small delta. Typically, the average sites that we manage, Each day, the biomass requirement varies between 100 to 150 metric tons. Whereas here we are talking about a very small number of 1800 metric tons per year. But the audit was done for this site because it was done by this global major to understand what is it that at the end of it, if they shift, how much of carbon neutrality in the stage one are they going to achieve? And when we replace this CNG by this biomass for 1,800 metric tons, the on an annualized basis, the tons of CO2 reduction which happens vis-a-vis CNG is 1,282 tons of CO2. 1282. It's a mind-boggling number. After subtracting the carbon which we have burnt in collection of this agriculture residue, in conversion to briquette, and transporting it to the site. Now, the CNG is one of the cleanest fuels in all the fossil fuels that we can talk about. We have gone into CNG transportation, usage of CNG in a big way in the country, also to reduce the carbon footprint. And here, this is the comparative which I'm giving you vis-a-vis CNG. You also look at the scenario where most of the other places, we replace the F grade coal, we replace furnace oil, and we replace diesel. Hence, the comparative quotient of reduction of CO2 will be higher. Uh, Currently, as a company, we do upwards of 100,000 metric tons of biomass per annum, close to about 120, 130,000. And the way our business is going in this current financial year, we will double this usage. So if you use the same sliding matrix of 1,282 tons equivalent, say for about 2,000 tons of biomass, and you look at 200,000 tons, that's the quantum of tons of CO2 reduction which we are achieving with cumulatively as a company. Now, the key point, this is financially cheaper and more viable than using fossil fuel. And that's why the client wants to shift. We have put out numbers in public domain where vis-a-vis usage of fossil fuel, the clients have saving as much as between 25 to 40% on their bottom line. The last part is about 65 to 70% of the money in this entire stream goes back to the rural farmer from where it starts through the banking channels. So if you look at the complete carbon stream coming back to the circular economy, after extracting the energy in the boiler, what's left out is pure carbon, ash. And that goes back to the topsoil for the topsoil enrichment, which is also a government scheme of the soil health cards, where the topsoil enrichment needs to be done. As a country, we have gone very low on that with the vast usage of fertilizers and NPKs of the world. So it's a complete circular loop of taking carbon from the atmosphere and bringing that carbon back to this topsoil. And in between, utilizing it for food, the farmer grows it, utilizing it for energy purpose, and moving away from fossil fuels. So this is something which is fits to the T to the sustainable development goals that we have, which we have signed up for. It fits to the T for the clarion call of Andata se Urja Data, and it fits to the T for waste to energy. And this is what we propagate as the solution for the large fires which we see across North India and other parts of the country, for the farmer not to burn it, but get value out of it, and also the industries being able to save money in their energy usage. So this is the case study which I wanted to present. I'll be happy to take specific questions whenever the moderators allow that. Thank you so much. Thanks, Omkar. Thanks for organizing this.
Thank you, Manish. Farming is a major business of India, and you have really rightly touched the subject. And there are going to be many future questions, queries, and much more business going to generate. So thank you so much again being part of this webinar conference. Yeah. And we need your extended support for the next upcoming series and all. Thank you so much.
Sure, thank you.
Yeah, our next speaker is Mr. Ashish Puntambekar, and he is going to touch to the finance kind of thing could be involved for various businesses, and which is the crew part where all the ideas get maybe stuck up. So I would like to uh, uh, ask Mr. Ashish Puntambekar to join and to present his topic.
Hi, Omkar, and I'd like to thank Monish first. The excellent presentation Monish made on this thing about the farm economy, the circular economy to the farm economy, and how he explained it in detail. It was excellent, and thank you so much, Monish, for that. Now coming to my subject, I'm going to speak about financial innovation to solve environmental to actually the financial innovation to make environmental projects possible. Most projects get stuck on finance, so I'm going to this is the area that I have chosen to speak about, and I'm going to just run you through some ideas. So the topic is use of innovative finance to solve Mumbai's yearly flooding problem. See, what is happening is the earth is warming, and in various places, whether it's the Gulf of Mexico, or whether it is the Indian east coast or the Indian west coast, as the ocean warms, the storms are becoming more and more powerful. Okay, so that is, we have got rising oceans on one side, we've got storms coming in, and millions of people getting affected each year because of these storms. So the subject that I'm going to speak about is this. So the first slide is about the situation in Mumbai. You know, we when you have got very heavy rainfall, and then simultaneously you've got high tide in the ocean. You got this kind of situation that you're seeing in the slides happening in Mumbai when the water comes in into people's homes, on the railway tracks, and it is resulting in thousands and thousands of crores of losses happening in the city's GDP. So I'm just the first slide is just about the current situation, and you will see the Methi River the way it is in 2020. You can see how it looks around the Methi River, which is the last slide, and I put a red box around it just to make people aware of this kind of situation. Now, can we change this? So I'm going to take you to slide 2 now, which is how this thing can be changed. And I've got 3 slides to talk about, and the third slide will be about finance. But I'm just showing you what we'll have to do to make this thing happen in slide 2. So what we're going to do is, this project that I am talking about is worth some 90,000 crores. Okay, and this money, this one with the 90,000 crores will be raised entirely from within the project area itself. So this is not something that will require funding coming from outside. It can be solved in Mumbai by using the land on which is being affected by the flood, and to make it a much better place. And the last frame over here is the Methi River, how it will look in 2027, 28 once the project is done. So a couple of things first I'd like to speak about is, one is, this kind of project requires political will. Okay? It requires political will to do, because a lot of the areas around the Methi River will have to be cleaned, have to be cleared for these projects to come up, for this kind of scheme to work. We cannot do it by going and you're seeing these dredgers, these machines trying to dredge the Methi from time to time. They put in some machines and have it cleaned up. No, you need a very sophisticated and planned method of doing it. So we're going to get in literally, small barges into the Methi River, which will be taking this thing and then moving it to a larger barge, which will go and, store this material and put it in a proper landfill that will be built offshore Mumbai. So this is a much bigger project than has ever been attempted in Maharashtra. So I've done the costing for it. It is coming to something like 90,000 crores. And the nice thing about this project is it will create 1.1 million new jobs in Mumbai. So it's going to do 2 things. One is it's going to clean up the city. The second thing is it's going to prevent the flood. The third thing is it's going to create 1.1 million new jobs. Now the heart of the project is it's in its financing. Now this particular concept is called urban equity withdrawal, and I'll just explain it to you in a minute. Uh, to give you an idea of how much money is trapped in our cities, you've got to look at the L&T project that was proposed in October of 2015 to the government of Maharashtra. This is about a 93-acre plot in Bandra East. And this particular clip that you see on the right is what L&T had proposed to the government of Maharashtra. L&T had said it will invest 30,000 crores of money in this 93-acre plot. This is a MADA plot, 93-acre MADA plot in Bandra East. They said they will sell it. They expect after raising FSIs and doing a lot of development on this 93-acre plot, they'll sell it for 1,25,000 crores, and they'll give the government of Maharashtra 70,000 crores in cash. So what you have is this project is essentially like a fast breeder nuclear reactor where it throws up more cash than it consumes. Okay, so if this concept I have actually presented now to the government of India, and it has formed the basis for the National Infrastructure Pipeline project. It was included in the BJP manifesto also, this project. With the 111 lakh crore infrastructure plan of the Modi government is based on these very ideas. So the first thing I'd like to say is that this is something that can be done. It is doable, and we can actually build a lot of things based on this. And by we planning, and finally, I'll just like to conclude by saying that we are not going to we're going to bring in some very sophisticated technologies into Mumbai. We are going to bring in Dutch engineers, because there are two or three places in the world where this kind of problem is being faced. One is New Orleans in the United States. The other thing is the Netherlands, which is most of the around 50% of the country is below sea level. So they are the people best able to create the engineering solutions for it, and we have the money, because I've just shown you how the money will be raised, and we're going to do this. We've already proposed it to the government of Maharashtra, and we'll be taking it forward. So I just wanted to show you what creative finance can do to make projects happen. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ashish. Just throwing a light how finance can be built up, and more about creating jobs, because this COVID-19 is going up. People are losing job now. Here are the some opportunities which are unavoidable and through which the jobs can be generated. I really thank you to present this such a wonderful topic. Now for next session, please introduce.
Yeah. I'd thank you, Omkar. I'd like to invite Mrs. Chitralekha Vaidya to make the next to give the next presentation. You know, when we were discussing, Omkar held a small session between the speakers, and Chitralekha had come on the screen, and she said that she's done some work for the army now in high altitude areas, and I was very interested when I heard that. So I said, you stick to this subject only. So she's been very generous and kind to address this subject, and she'll be speaking on waste management challenges in high altitude regions, an army project case study. So I'd like to invite Mrs. Vaidya to please make her presentation. We'll get Ms. Vaidya a little later when she's back online. I think she's having some problem with her network. And I'd like to introduce Ambassador Dr. Philip H. Mozart Thomas and Mr. Shrikant Parab. They are our next speakers, and they will be speaking about the environmental crisis caused by waste management practices that contravene Article 21 of the Indian Constitution. And this will achieve achieve energy independence and help create a carbon neutral economy. So I'd like to invite Ambassador Dr. Philip Mozart Thomas and Mr. Shrikant Parab. They'll be speaking one after the other, and let's listen to them. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Manish. And also to Amkar, I must say that I'm very privileged and honored to have this opportunity to participate in this webinar today. Today, I call it a very auspicious occasion, whereby we sort of celebrate the environment. I'm doing this on the onset of. You cannot hear me? Are you able to hear me? Hello? Are you hearing me? Yeah, I'm doing this on the onset of
Yes, we are quite good.
on the onset.
We can hear you.
Good. I'm doing this on the onset of just finished doing a little interview with my 11-year-old as part of her program of studies for school, whereby she did an interview with me on the word sustainability and the sustainability goals. The theme for this World Environmental Day is that the theme is it's a theme for nature, with a focus on the role in providing essential infrastructure that supports life on Earth and human development. In India, in of itself, here, the theme is creating a greener and healthier environment for all. That is the core. That is the core of the Indian culture and its values and tradition. And we, Delta Group Holdings, I am the group chairman and CEO. We extend greetings to you here in India and into the entire global economy. Let me just address some of what brought us here into India and why it is so phenomenal for us. We had an opportunity to work with the government of India and also with the National Green Tribunal. And during that process, we had an opportunity to do an entire country study of the laws and the infrastructures and instrumentalities in India. And it is towards actually addressing the whole issue in India with regards to this entire waste management crisis as it affects the people in of themselves of India. Our focus actually brought us into looking at some of these issues as it pertains to what India's expectations are, what India's proposals are in this regard. We were asked to actually look at Article 21. And in doing so, we studied a range of public interest litigations that were starting from 1994 with Almata Patel. I must say also greetings to her. And when she raised the first issue with regards to how this unscientific disposal of waste is affecting the health and well-being as opposed in accordance with Article 21 of the Indian Constitution. And in examining that, we also had an opportunity to look at what the entire India in of itself is proposing to do, not only to help the people, but also to sort of resolve many of the issues that would put them and set them apart within this entire global economy. India has made a proposal at the Paris Agreement, their intended national determinative contribution, to reduce the emissions by 30 to 35% from the 2005 levels by 2030. India has also proposed and has been accepted in a very audacious adaptation program in that regards to help this. What we have done is that looking at what India is looking to accomplish, And we have actually looked at what the entire world, the global economy, we've looked at what the United Nations Cindy framework on disaster risk reduction. We have also looked at the United Nations framework convention on climate change, the climate crisis risk management. And we also studied the specific laws, as I said before, and also the infrastructure. And we came up with a very audacious program, a plan of how to set India apart in actually to curbing this crisis, especially with regards to this burgeoning problems with the landfills that seems to be wreaking havoc on the health of the individuals. The program that we have put in place will address this crisis in there. We spent about 10 years in of itself, Delta as a group, studying specifically India's waste. And what we have discovered is that India's waste is a very, very, very complicated and complex elements there within it. And we have also developed specialized technology actually to sort of address this issue of how do you process India waste. During the course of our studies, we have been able to understand a number of things that is there. And first of all, it is not that simple to go on the landfill of itself to process waste in of itself. I think when we looked at the entire instrumentalities and the infrastructure around the country, there has been a lot of successes, but yes, there have been tremendous amounts of failures. And I think that is as a result of not understanding specifically what is required actually to process the waste in India in of itself. We've also discovered a tremendous amount of potential of the metric tons, millions and millions of metric tons of renewable biofuel that can be harvested from this waste. We have also discovered in that examination the millions and millions of cubic meters of CNG or renewable energy or synthetic gas that can be harvested from this. But what is important, it's how that is done. And so taking a decade plus time out and also working closely with the government, specifically, the CSIR NERI, and taking on the guidance of such individuals as Dr. Rakesh Kumar and others, we have been able to actually provide a very viable solution as how to solve this problem. One of the things that guided us in this direction is that when Almata Patel had filed her litigation in 1994, it was not until in 2017 that the court in India specifically gave a final resolution of how this process must be done. That the court took its time actually, and they had engaged a commission, and this commission actually represented experts nationally and internationally, and they proposed a regime of solutions that must be implemented in order to actually to achieve the goals as is expected as a result of these public interest litigations. One specific aspect of this program that the Commission has pointed out is that there must be integrated systems of technologies, that just one technology alone, and that has been the problem, is that many individuals, they try to set up a waste to energy plant. They attempted to do, whether it's some form of biomechanization, but without understanding specifically the characteristics of the waste in of itself and the fractions that they have to be able to process. And this is more so because you find that even as you go on the landfills and the dump site, because of the topography of the land, you find that the waste at every sector is quite different, because especially because of the monsoon seasons that sort of plague India in that regards. So what Delta has done, not only build specific technology that would address the waste in of itself, but also in looking at what the court has required, that how this must be done, we have also done an experiment whereby, because it says that the community and the public must be involved in this entire process. And when we studied the instrumentalities, we noticed that many of the municipalities are trying their level best to do as best as they possibly can in order to resolve the problem. But what we have seen is that there's need for the public and the community to be involved in this process. It leads us to understand a very core principle that we always live by. That core principle is that every generation has an obligation to free man's mind to look at a higher plateau than the last. Within the context of that motto that we live by, it is our hope that we would be able to not only provide the right solution for the resolving of this problem, but also to get the individuals and the individuals involved. It goes to this core aspect of that we must be able to enjoy this environment. We must be able to use it in a manner in which it would be sustainable, so that we can hand it over to the next generations, that they can enjoy the same thing. We also must we are looking at this situation based on the health and well-being of individuals, of people, so that they can enjoy a very beautiful life, the life that Almata Patel has longed for. So in that regard, I will pass this over to my colleague, Mr. Srikant Farad, who would actually talk about some specific things that we have done in our R&D program at the Zero Waste at Source program as part of this entire circular economy waste management ecosystem.
Yes, Mr. Srikant Parab, could you please throw some light on the topic, as being Asian CEO for the company of Data?
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone, and good wishes on this World Environmental Day to all of you. We thank Vstrut for organizing this kind of event, which allows us to spread awareness about the environment and how to protect it. Because the court order which Dr. Thomas was referring to also states that the governments and private parties also should, organize this kind of events for public awareness about the about the facilities available, infrastructure available, processing of the waste, obligations, etc., etc. So it's a very key factor that awareness is must, and I think through such programs we can do that. So that is good part. The court order we also specifically mentions about involvement of civil society in this entire movement, because only government bodies or ULBs are not enough to handle the environmental issues, and every citizen or every person, individual, should take some responsibility of it. And this is exactly what Delta has been doing. We, on one hand, we are trying to eliminate the landfills, but at the other hand, we are also reaching out to masses and spreading awareness and trying to change their mindset that will help in protecting this environment. The court order which the Supreme Court, that NGT Supreme Court has, the judgment also mentions that the direction contained in this judgment shall apply to the entire country. So they have made all the ULBs or government bodies or pollution control boards, etc., etc., party to this, but this particular judgment is for the entire country. So when they talk about entire country, it is our responsibility to make sure that whatever contribution we can give towards protecting environment, we should. We have amongst so many different factors of pollution, or you can say carbon emission. We have chosen waste as the prime culprit, because whatever pollution occurs, 41% of that is because of the waste which is lying unattended at various dump sites. And uh, when we handle the issue of waste dump sites or landfills, we have to make sure that we also address this issue with the source, so that on one hand we can stop the inflow of the waste, and on the other hand we can remediate the landfills. So there are the two aspects, and that's how what we have done is we have uh, decided to do R&D at the society levels, which we have done. And there are more than 40 to 50 societies we have so far attended to, and we have made them zero waste at source. uh, 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 it was a process. We started this whole thing from 2014, trying to understand the mindsets of people, and changing took some time. So in 2014, we came up with vermicompost with help of one of the MCGM officer, or he was working in water department, Mr. Shrotre, and we took his help and we set up first vermicompost unit. Then we moved to biocompost. Then we also, and carbon neutrality, when we have to achieve that, it is not only waste, there are so many other aspects also. So we try to control the emission by so many other things also, and absorb the carbon which is already emitted. So tree plantation was the key. So in these societies, we also plant 50 trees every year. Today is World Environmental Day. Today also we are going to plant few trees in our society. We have been promoting solar panels. We have been promoting water conservation in the societies through various ways and means, rainwater harvesting, etc. So collectively, when one society becomes, you can say, carbon neutral, and then that model can be replicated in all other societies to control the emission, as well as to absorb the carbon which is emitted. So in these societies which we have been chosen, we have chosen as a R&D center or a model society, have implemented all these things which I have said. Mainly, we have talking about tree plantations. Then we are talking about constant R&D on waste management, and we are improvising the methods. Awareness programs to domestic helpers, not only to people but even domestic helpers. We are reusing, we are teaching people how to reuse the furniture and all those things in the society itself. Then eco-friendly Ganeshotsav, eco-friendly festivals, how to celebrate festivals and make them eco-friendly. Rainwater harvesting, implementation of new methods for conserving water. That is also the prime focus, and also biodiversity, which is very important. So a lot of things we are doing. It is not one aspect, but we have bundled everything together and to make this model society. And I think through such programs, such programs in future, we will take one by one and educate people how to achieve that. So I think, that being said, we have a very short time, so I think I would conclude my session, and back to the studio.
Yeah, one of the things that I would like to do, to just a last statement, having you haven't heard from what Mr. Parab has said, that we are building a very holistic program, and this circular economy waste management ecosystem program. You will see coming on the onset, I guess this is in first of the series of these webinars that we are going to be doing. But Delta is going to be launching in the near future what we are proposing to be a holistic solution for all of India. We no longer speak about a waste to energy plant. In following the court order, which says that there must be an integrated system of technologies, we are building what is called carbon sink parks. These carbon sink parks will actually have a platform to about 10 to 15 different technologies in it. And also it would be 1/3 of the park, which is about 100 to 150 acres, will have these synthetic and native trees that would not only sequester the carbon from the environment, but also contain the carbon, at the same time creating massive amounts of renewable energy, biosynthetic fuel and biochar fuel that we will be doing all in this state of the art, next generation carbon neutral park. It's all part of the design plan where India will be moving towards becoming fuel efficient, all part of the plan of where India is actually moving into this next phase of becoming carbon neutral. But most of all, it is part of this entire plan where India will begin the process of leading in this fight, this global fight against climate change.
Yeah, thank you, Professor Dr. Thomas and Mr. Shrikant Parab for enlightening us regarding the carbon neutrality. This is just a beginning. There is a quite a good, as Mr. Parab said, yes, we'll plan surely for a great series, taking each and every topic, educating people, making aware. And yes, what rightly said Mr. Ashish into his speech, that yes, employment can be generated through this, and obviously for financing, that can be guided through such programs. Yeah, Mr. Ashish, for next speaker.
Yeah.
I again thank you so much, Dr. Thomas and Mr. Parab once again from the bottom of my heart. Yeah,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
I'd like to invite Ms. Chitralekha Vaidya now. She runs an organization called Varsha School Private Limited, and she's going to be speaking about waste management challenges in high altitude regions, an army project case study. So I'd like to invite Ms. Chitralekha to kindly make her presentation.
Am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible. You're audible.
Okay, great, great. I hope I can share the screen also.
Okay, good. Yeah, kindly go ahead.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
way. Yeah.
Uh, yeah, hello. So, this is Chitralekha Vaidya. Thanks, Mr. Pundambekar and Mr. Kulkarni for inviting for this interesting station. And I hope the screen sharing is possible, right? It's not allowing me to share my screen actually. Can I share it like a normal presentation on the screen?
Chitralekha, you may continue with your speech. I guess I'll
I cannot share the screen.
no. It is from our side.
Oh.
Yes, yeah. You can enlighten on the topic.
Okay, fine. So I'm speaking about waste management, and we are working in the waste management in various regions, specifically for army, also at higher altitude locations. So we have done a lot of projects in army and for remote locations, like when we work in municipal area. So where the waste collection is happening, it's a different ball game. And when there is no collection is happening, so the magnitude of problem is really huge. And yeah, it's a different magnitude altogether. So I want to share one very interesting case study. Omkar, I'll just share the presentation with you. If you can run the thing from your side, because it will be odd without presentation. Omkar, hello?
Okay. I'll try to.
Yeah, okay, fine. I'll continue till that. So I send you a presentation. I thought I can share the presentation here itself. Right. So there was an interesting case study I was studying. Like pandemics has a history. It's not first time happening in India, and so there were some few interesting references. Like if you we all are aware about the not which is populated by 1.5 million people, and around 8 million visitors are there. So the around 6 times transit population is there. That way it's a classic case. There were two historical references in a book called Colonial Panjim, which is from 19th century. So in 18th and 19th century basically. So in 1822, there was a complaint raised by residents Diego de Costa Fernandez and Antonio, expressing the apprehensions over poor waste management leading to epidemics. So that was an interesting reference to see that even 200 years back people were understanding the relation between pandemics and waste management and how it can be controlled. So another reference was in 1856 where there were special efforts taken by health department to tackle the sanitation issues, as there were a lot of debris and organic waste thrown by inhabitants, and which gave rise to diseases like conjunctivitis and angina and tuberculosis. So these were two incidences recorded in history in last maybe 250 years. And even today, right now, what we are seeing is urbanization and a pandemic. All the metro cities are suffering due to a lot of cases and due to population density. So like pandemic, even waste management is a huge issue in urban areas also. So another interesting historic incidents I had tried to share in the presentation. So I always feel that waste is a resource at wrong place. So that is the big problem, that we are not able to understand the potential of resource which is lying at wrong place, and that's why it is creating nuisance. So as we have learned in history about Mohenjo-daro in school age, that how well it was planned. And so Mohenjo-daro was very famous for well planned sites and grid of streets, north, south, and east, west, and there were proper blocks, and 30 feet wide streets were there. Proper irrigation was planned, and the civilization was fantastic. So water supply was there, irrigation was there, wastewater collection and covered collection system was there. So I was just wondering that where is the waste management, where are the dump sites? Because all we know that the moment there is a city, there has to be a dump site, because we are not able to manage our waste. So now to my surprise, there were no dump sites. And the reason or the answer to that was because they were handling their waste quite efficiently, so the dump sites were actually not required. Hello, yeah, I hope you can hear me. Hello.
Yes, we are hearing you.
Hello, can you hear me? I hope I have
Uh,
not lost the connection.
we can hear you. You can
Yeah, yeah.
continue.
Okay,
Yeah.
you got the presentation. Can you just run it?
I guess there is a network issue. You may continue. We have
Yeah. Okay.
say 3-4 minutes, and then we can go for Q&A among the panel. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Fine. No, because I am trying to show something. If it is not there on screen, it will be difficult to understand. So that was the Mohenjo-daro city and Harappan civilization. And now question comes to my mind that if tomorrow, after say 1,000 years, if somebody tries to excavate my city, or for that matter your city, what will they find out? Or to reframe the whole question, what do you want them to find out about you? Do you want them to find out about the dumping sites, or do you want them to find out a well planned city? That is the question. So coming to, I seriously wanted to share this background because it is really important what was the civilization, how they manage their waste, and what we are doing. Are we doing something better than them, or we are worse than them? So considering the waste management scenario in India, we are really generating huge amount of waste. If we consider the all over world figure, so we are into topmost few waste generating countries, and out of that 51% is the organic matter which can be really recycled back, and 31% is inert material, and I mean 17% is inert material, and 31% can be really recycled. So there is huge potential. Now coming back to higher altitude, when municipal waste management urban area, the problem is quite simplified compared to higher altitude locations, because first thing is waste collection is happening properly, and another aspect is the temperature is supporting, so waste gets decomposed naturally. Whereas if you are gone for some trekking or something, the typical picture at the rest houses is energy bar wrappers are there, organic food is there, discarded clothes are there, emergency blankets and other waste littered, and toilets are generally just a open hole facing down onto a snow slope. So it is a quite general picture in every site, and so there are few challenges. So communities are remote, and still they are facing more problem with plastic, metals, and other non biodegradable products, and then the mountain tourism is one of the bigger reason for this. And generally people backpack their waste into remote locations, and they just dump it there and they come back. Another challenge is large mountain cities are there, so like low end cities, similar challenges are faced by those mountain cities. And we need to remember that impact of that upstream waste on freshwater ecosystem is also very serious aspect which we should remember. And obviously on mining at high altitude, it also creates bigger issues for waste management. So if we see the population distribution, like what is there in mountain area, so Asia has around 36% mountain area, and we have 52% population living in mountain area. So the problems is still there, much bigger compared to other European countries also. So what can be done? I mean, so there are few recommendations which we do to all remote, even army location, that we must implement the waste monitoring programs first in order to find out the correct quantity. Then there has to be a scientific research on the composition of waste, because unless and until we don't know correct composition of waste, there cannot be correct solution for the that kind of composition. And waste disposal must be avoided and restricted in the higher altitude locations, and small scale solutions like mechanized composting, which can be remotely monitored also. That kind of solutions should be adopted at those remote locations. Another important aspect is tourism industry should be educated, and tourists should be educated about the waste issue and their contribution, and there has to be a financial arrangement for that kind of waste generated from them, and separate budget should be maintained by those mountain institutes also. And there has to be a private sector responsibility, also private sector participation also. Also we need to remember that those high altitude locations are more prone to natural disasters. So the waste management plan should be there in the disaster management plan also, in order, so they should not forget while rehabilitating the people. It has to be, even the waste has to be rehabilitated and handled it properly. So there are few waste management solutions. I wanted to show the photographs of the projects what we have done in higher altitude, but I don't know whether it is possible or not. So basically, biomethanation and composting automatic systems we have installed in those remote and high altitude locations, and it has reduced their waste management, organic waste management problem by 100%, and overall waste management by 50 to 60%, and so it has helped them. So to conclude the problem, I mean, we need to have a decentralized system where unskilled labor is acceptable, and the technology should be self-sufficient, and it should not be rocket science to run. Then there are better chances that the system will run. So I think that that was the learning for us while working in higher altitude locations. So to conclude on that, I always ask question to people that yes, great, you are invested for your kids for their education and their future. So have you invested anything for them where they can get pure quality of water? Can they get them? Can they get good quality air? And can they have clean air to live? So if we have done investment, great. But if we have not done the investment, I think it's time to realize that, and maybe it's a good time, good muhurat for today to start with that. Yeah, I will. I think I had taken the full time, Omkar.
Yes. Uh,
Okay.
yes. Almost. Yeah.
Yeah, it would have been better if I would have run the presentation. But fine. So if there are any questions, I can take the questions. Or
Yeah, Chitralekha, what
Yeah,
rightly
I can.
said that
Yeah.
this is kind of a tribute what today we company and all the panel speakers we are giving it to World Environment Day, and this is just a beginning. There are gonna be
hmm,
the series of kind of thing for the full
hmm,
sessions, an hour or
hmm,
something,
hmm,
in which we can
hmm,
really see this kind of, because this really kind of say I can't say untouched, but unaware area. So
hmm.
separate session can be arranged through which very well mannered we can show the present. You can show up the photographs, you can show the case studies and what the things you have handled. And apart from that, you're a rainwater harvesting expert and all those things. So we can cover up in upcoming
Yeah,
the this was really hastily
yeah, yeah,
done in say 5 days. So I really
yeah,
from the bottom of my heart that today morning you had a session. From that session you came up again. Thank you so much.
yeah,
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 Ashish,
yeah.
no, what I
Yeah.
suggest that we'll take all the panel speakers, and first of all, if we have questions among ourselves, something into ask, so we can ask up. I'll go offline and I'll take others. Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, I want to ask Mr. Trileka Vaidya a question, and
Yeah.
that is about this military thing project that she's done. Ma'am,
Hmm.
what kind of problems did you? Because my brother was flying to Siachen for almost 3 years, and he showed me he was flying a helicopter and into Siachen, and the kind of
Hmm.
problems
Hmm.
they have in Siachen is amazing. It's a huge amount of problem because the waste doesn't degrade for centuries. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely. Right.
they have a huge issue there. So I just wanted to understand your perspective of what problems did you encounter in the sites that you did look at, and how
Right.
did you solve them?
Okay. So yeah, it is interesting, and I am specifically focusing the high altitude locations because the problems are 10 times than any other location because of the temperature and accessibility. These are two important aspects. So I understand that we cannot handle the waste management problem to for location like Siachen 100% because the temperature goes down like -60 even. So any biological system will have its own restrictions because the culture will not survive at all in such locations. But there we have started a stepwise approach that first we need to start with segregation. So even the segregation is not happening, and that takes the 100 kg problem into 1000 kg scale. So the moment we segregate, we are able to upcycle remaining waste also, and then it is easier to handle only 10 or 20% or 30% of the part of the waste which is real problematic. Now, what we have done so far, it's a Gulmarg location, and the temperature goes down as -20 or -25 also sometimes. So there we have a control system where the project is installed in the room. It's not in open air because we need to control the ambient temperature condition also because it's an aerobic system. and we need to have fresh air in the system. So if I am taking say -20 or -10 degree temperature air, the bacteria will immediately die. So we are maintaining a air conditioned room where at least like plus 10, 15, 20 kind of temperature is maintained. So the issue is there for 6 months, not the for the 12 months. So 12 months we are taking first that precaution, and we added up additional heating system. Also what I can say, things are temperature and moisture conditions are monitored, so we are not using the energy unnecessarily. But unless the moment the temperature drops, the system starts, and the moment temperature is achieved, the system the power consumption is stopped. So that way we have optimized the power consumption also, and we have added one important aspect, that is remote monitoring. So we are monitoring our system daily at sitting at our office in Mumbai. So if something is going in different direction, so we know it before it aggravates. So that is the additional way to ensure that things doesn't go wrong uh, severely. So yes, I mean we have managed so far to segregate the waste and handle the biological waste, and there we have obviously not touched the human waste, I mean excreta so far. But right now our focus is on solid waste only in the high altitude location, because we want to solve it step by step. And uh, so even if people are doing segregation, the problem is reduced by say 5 to 7 times. So higher altitude there is really no awareness about it, and because of lack of available resources, people are bringing more packaged food, plastic packaged food. So in a army location where the beer cans and the kitchen waste and everything is dumped together, the problem becomes severe. So we started educating people from that level, that first start segregating and then we will handle the organic waste. So yes, we have reduced the problem by 30, 40, 50% at some locations, somewhere 70, 80% also. But it's a systematic approach. You cannot have it overnight. So
And
stage by
one
stage
more,
we educate and they understand and they're implementing it.
one more question, ma'am.
Yeah.
This anaerobic bacteria doesn't work in these locations?
Uh, yeah, but again, it requires temperature seasoning. So whatever bacteria you require, it requires certain temperature to survive. So anaerobic bacteria, some projects in Siachen were failed earlier for the human waste management because of the same reason, that the culture could not survive. So unfortunately, we need to have the kind of temperature control for any kind of bacteria to survive. So right now, that's why we are touch first solid waste and then we'll go for liquid waste.
Okay, fine.
Actually, Dr. Bhave, who has 3 months research into Antarctica, may throw some light on this.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I would also agree with that.
yes. I, we have worked in Antarctica, and it was the wastewater treatment plant only of the Indian station. So Indian
Great.
station had RBD, that is rotating biological disk, we call it, and then the culture which has reached. But the station has to maintain the temperature by using the heaters. So it was very difficult, and
Absolutely.
20%, 30% of the efficiency only we could find. And the temperatures in Antarctica goes to minus 69, and it remains for a pretty long period. But the discipline of the station was very good. Segregation was very nice, and then it was, because otherwise you will not survive. You have very limited oil, ATF for generation of electricity. So yes, it is how the biological life will survive. No bacteria can survive in this such
True,
temperature.
true.
But we can manage with the 20 or 30% of efficiency of treatment plant, and the dilution was very high because it used to go to a tank, it used to go to a lake, and it used to be there for quite some time. So it's really difficult to work with the sub-zeros and like this the temperatures. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I'd like to ask Monish a question. Monish, this circular economy that you have displayed, how much time does it take you to set up one of your projects, like the one that you just mentioned? What's the cycle time of the project that you've done recently? I'm not talking about the measurement and the audit. I'm just talking about the setting it up and how much time do you take on that?
So, setting up of a bricketing, and if you look at a 50 ton per day bricketing plant or a 100 ton per day bricketing plant, right from the scratch, you would be able to do it in about 8 to 10 months time.
Okay.
So with that, yeah, so 50 ton, both kind of similar kind of time frame. The key elements required is the land where you want to set up the project, the permission from the local authorities, and the commensurate electricity connection. So if you have this in place, and assuming that the finance is available to do the project, you could do it easily in about 8 months time.
Okay. Thanks.
And the larger one, the boiler, where you
Hmm.
are replacing the fossil fuel usage, uh, at the upper end, again, there, right from the ordering of the equipment to the construction of the plant and going live, maximum 12 months, including all the permissions.
Okay. For a boiler facility.
Yes, for a boiler
Boiler.
facility, yeah, maximum 12 months, and for a bricketing plant, anything between 8 to 10 months.
Okay. I'd like to ask Mr. Shrikant Parab also a question because you are based in Pune and you're handling this site in Pune. What are the problems you faced in terms of public? We saw your presentation last time, and now what is your next plan that you're planning to do at this site?
Um, at Pune, we had a very extensive study there, and of course, these people. We went there because Honorable Chief Minister, he sent us there because there was agitation by the villagers, and they were stopping from the dumping trucks coming to their village. So it was not very easy. We first went there, we evaluated the situation, and then we realized that it's not in my backyard, kind of attitude. They were fed up of the plants being set up there and failing time and again, because there are already two white elephants sitting there. They were set up and nothing happened. So it was not easy for winning their hearts and their minds. So what Delta did is we took some chosen villagers and we took them abroad. We showed them exactly what we are planning to set up there, and they were very happy. I mean, after seeing what we are going to do there, and then they started convincing their own people. Just last year, or more than 5,000 or maybe about 10,000 people signed a petition and
Okay.
handed over to NGT that we want this project to come in our vicinity to get rid of the landfill issues, right? And
Okay.
their land is trapped there, almost 199 acre land which belongs to villagers is trapped there, and they are hoping that it will be reclaimed and they will get their land back. So we have taken certain steps to bring their confidence into this project, and very soon you will see the developments happening in that area.
Okay. I've got a
One
question
of the
for.
things I would like to also
Yeah. Go ahead.
One of the things I'd like to point out from our pre-feasibility study on the Fasungi, what is happening there in the Fasungi, especially when we first went in there, what was distressing to us is how the entire community is affected by the unscientific dumping of the waste there. There are some statistics that we were able to verify where the life expectancy in that village is about 40 years old. There are no kids that are born in that village. There's extensive amount of waterborne skin diseases as a result of the entire water system inside of the village, as a result of the lychee has disseminated there. There are no marriages are taking place inside of that village. So it tells us that there is some systemic fundamental issues that needs to be urgently addressed. And you just can't go in there and just decide that you're going to set up a plant and try to process waste if you don't understand what it is that, as I was saying earlier in my speech, the waste is very, very complex and very complicated. And if you understand how it has destroyed that community, then you would understand, why it is that you definitely have to take your time and building specific systems that you would be able to scientifically. We engage in a process that is called phytoremediation and geobioengineering. And it's a combination of where we're cleaning the environment, we're cleaning the land, and we're cleaning the water system, which is a holistic solution that we're bringing to bear there in the village of Fasungi. Similarly, we are going to be doing the same thing in Mumbai, and we are going to be doing the same in KDMC, Kilian Dumval. We're going to be doing the same thing. Some dump sites in Mumbai, and this is under the auspices and the request of the NGT, ask us not only to look in Pune, but also to look in Mumbai and also to look at KDMC.
Okay.
Because the problems are systemic as a result of all these landfills that are existing there. One of the other things I'd like to point out too is those individuals that that you call them rat pickers or scavengers. I think India needs to be proud of these people. These people have been at the forefront of India's environmental fight. They sacrificed their lives, and on this World Environmental Day, they spend their livelihoods. Some of them give up their children, and the amount of money that they make a day scavenging it's very heartbreaking when you hear how they're being described. But all to suss out a livelihood, I think that we need to celebrate these people. Had it not been for these people, I think these dump sites would have actually presented a worse problem in that regard. Our program that we're going to be implementing takes into account how these individuals must be treated in the future going forward. We intend to make sure that these people are being retrained as proper environmentalists that will be able to actually work in the environment itself, to help to take, but they must be well compensated. They must have the proper healthcare provisions in there, and they must be able to actually enjoy a quality of life that is actually provided for by the Constitution under Article 21, to be able to have a family life with their kids with them. Some of these rat picker kids or environmentalists, their kids are actually in boarding situations or actually sent away to live with they're not growing up with their mothers and fathers. And I think that is a very critical problem that must be addressed. And this is why we are going to be implementing what is called the United Nations Cindy Framework Disaster Risk Reduction Program in that regard, to address the woes or the ills of that these people are suffering from. It is a very critical issue that is overlooked.
Thank you, Doctor. You really highlighted a very big social problem, which is how these people are treated. And not many people have really addressed that in their project designs. Now, one last question I'd like to ask is Omkar, are the visitors asking any questions? I think they should be allowed. Is something coming in from Facebook?
Yeah, actually, there are few questions, but we are actually running out of time. It's close to 1:45. So okay. I guess yes, there is gonna be the series upcoming. This is just a beginning. Okay. So the elaborated webinars, lectures, or presentations from the delegatories can be done in the series in personalized way. People can reach to them, get their guidance, advice, and even the services. So this is how we can
There's a
go
question
for.
that has come here. I think one question. Let us. One
It
question
is
is.
for
Let
Rachana.
us have this
Yeah,
answered. But
let
let's
me
just
take Rachana. Yeah, one second.
let her.
Yeah.
You can take me off. Take me off. Now.
I read the question. He wants to know whether contaminated masks, if they are on the dumping ground, and if the water gets contaminated, then what should happen? Basically, if the water from the dumping ground is considered as a leachate, and leachate management is a separate science altogether, that is one thing. Again, the water from the dumping ground, usually the dumping ground is designed in such a manner that that water is not mixed with the drinking water at all. That is one. Then comes the leachate management. In the leachate management, also there are enough precautions which are taken, which will not allow the virus to go anywhere. And also, like I mentioned earlier, there are virophages or bacteriophages are basically another type of bacteria or another type of virus which will kill another virus. Okay, so those viruses will definitely take care of this virus if it is there in the dumping ground. Dumping ground is a huge multimillionaire in organisms. Okay, so let us not worry about contaminated masks. Definitely, the contaminated masks should not reach the dumping ground. That should be the priority one. But even if it has reached the dumping ground, I'm sure the BMC is taking enough measures to ensure that those get disinfected and they are being treated again. Now, obviously, there are concerns that they should be. What if the water falls? But even if the water falls, it is never mixed with the drinking water. So don't worry, we are all safe. We are fine. Thank you.
Now, one by one, we want to talk or give a vote of thanks to every speaker. So I'm just putting all bit backstage and taking one by one. Okay? Yes, give me a moment. Yeah, Ashish ji has joined to me to thank Ms. Rachana on a very short notice. She confirmed her topic, and I would like to introduce Mr. Paraksha. He's one of our directors from Vstrut Marketing Private Limited. He's also one of the big backbone behind all the conversations and getting networking to high and low altitude anywhere. Yeah.
Thanks, Rachna. So nice to have you.
It's at
Thank you so much, sir.
Parag, please go ahead.
No, it was really nice to talk to you, everybody, and everybody's given valuable time. And every suggestions of yours is really very much valuable, not only for the individuals, not for the city, but for the country itself. And it will definitely from the Vstrut, from bottom of my heart, thanks everybody, and for valuable time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, my beloved professor, Dr. Bhave,
Thank you.
and it's a pleasure that you came up on the panel and enlighten us with the topic. Actually, you have a bunch and vast areas to discuss about all the Panchamahabhuta. We'll keep a series on that and let people get enlightened. Even in Visit, yeah, my group, when I spoke to when I put the flyer, they were quite amazed that wow, we are gonna again see Dr. Bhave almost close to after 15 to 16 years. So thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
Mr.
Thank you
Parag
very
and
much.
Mr. Ashish.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Parag. Nice your activity. I
Yeah. Same
appreciate.
here, sir.
Hope to see you in future. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Chitralekha. Actually, I regret that I could not present these slides because of time constraint and some network issue. But yes, definitely, This is really, even I personally feel this is very much interesting topic. We haven't come across and or not much aware. So yes, sooner they're gonna be the completely personalized session where you can interact with the viewers, and it would be completely in that. Yeah, Ashish, what would you like to say?
Yeah, excellent. I want to talk to her about that military program after this session. I'll give her a call, and I've got some ideas I want to talk to her about.
Yeah,
Nice.
sure, sure.
You were saying very much valuable things right now, but unfortunately, but we definitely would like to keep it again for you,
Yes,
ma'am.
absolutely. Thanks,
Thank you
Chitran.
so much. Thank you so much. Thank you, Omkar. Thank you, Mr. Ashish and Parag. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you. Yeah.
So Monesh, excellent. I mean, you presented that circular economy thing. You really saw, created a lot of activity. I mean, people really understood it, and we've really benefited from your participation in this. Thanks so much. Yeah.
Thanks, Ashish. Thanks, Omkar.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, Paragji, and thanks for inviting me and asking me to present what we do and contribute towards this. A pleasure being here.
Thanks. Thanks.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
Colonel, after this session and lockdown comes up, and if as per government laws and regulations, Parag, myself will meet in your office personally, and let's discuss something very vast, because people
Sure,
would like to have that kind
it'll
of
be a pleasure,
empathy.
and
Yeah,
I look forward to actually going back to my office myself. So I look forward to hosting you all whenever possible.
correct. I thank you so much. Yes, Parag.
Thanks.
Yeah. No, we definitely will like to go it one and let's meet him and let's conclude something more better, more better, which will be helpful to the country itself. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks.
Thanks.
Dr. Thomas, plenty of things to
Yeah.
share to, yeah, India and world. Time,
Thank you so much.
Indeed.
only one constraint, that is time. And knowledge doesn't
Yes,
have
indeed.
constraint, and work not at all. Thank you
Indeed,
so much
indeed.
for being
We
in part of this presentation. And it is just a beginning, and we will have personalized series kind of a thing in the upcoming era. So we would also come up, or you can also drop down at our office in Andheri, and we can have really good discussion. Srikanji, actually a wonderful personality. Because personally I know Srikanji, and anytime comes
I'm
up
working
any
at the
event
grassroots
or
level.
any discussion, any kind of thing, so he's always he becomes the backbone. And yes, let's do Omkar. So this is always his words. Thank you so much to
yeah.
both of the gentlemen. And yes, your
Thank you
extended
very much.
support, it's much more need for the upcoming area of generation. Yes, Ashish.
Thanks.
Yeah,
Thanks.
I
I want
wanted
to
to
thank
say,
both Dr. Thomas. Yeah. And Shrikant
yeah,
for
I wanted to
for
say, yeah, yeah, I wanted to leave you with these closing words, eh? At this World Environmental Day, every generation has an obligation to free man's mind to look at a higher plateau than the last. And it is important for us to understand in the context that you think globally, but you act locally. India is at the precipice of achieving some amazing things and doing not only for the people of India, but also for the global environment. And I am calling upon now, your Prime Minister has given the clarion call that, we sort of look within ourselves and we look into the outer world and we approach each and every aspect of bringing some resolve into creating a very healthy and wealthy environment for all of us. So with that, I am also there standing firm, fighting with you in India. We have had the opportunity to sort of reach out to over 2,500 experts in consulting them and finding the right solution. So this is why I'm confident that India is going to be moving in the right direction and leading in climate change. This is why I'm confident that India actually, that we will be able to provide a right solution to tackle the 41% of that 30 to 35% of their intended national determinative contribution. So I'm calling upon you, and I'm calling upon everyone in India, let's face the fight. The Supreme Court, the government, they're doing their part, and it's the people now. You, the people of India, must also make your contribution.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, Parag.
Yeah, thank you, Parabji and Dr. Thomas ji. It was really nice to get you people on the board in this Vedic 2020. And it was your suggestions and everything is really very much useful for everybody. Thank you for that.
Thank you very
Thank
much
you.
for organizing this.
Thank
Yeah,
you so
last
much.
but not least, I would like to
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you very
last
much.
but not least,
Appreciate it.
I would like to thank you, Mr. Ashish Puntambekar, because we spoke up about the idea of executing this today's event, and he just came up. He is amazing, but that's it I can say about. And that was possible because of unconditional love support from Ashish. Thank you, Ashish, for
Thank
that.
you.
And I would like to mention about the our team of Vstrut, Mr. Suchit and Akshay, and for digital marketing team, which is Akshay Parde. Because of him, we can air up all the complete event. And mainly, our co-founder, Mr. Anand, who is running the studio. He's always stay behind back, but he is the major sutradhar, like we always say, the Krishna. So I thank you from the bottom of my heart, Mr. Anand, and our IT expert Deepali, and extended support from Tejali Kulkarni. Thank you so much. Thank you, Parag Bhai. Would like to
Yeah,
mention
thank
some
you
few
all.
words, and then we can sum up.
Yeah, sure. No, it was really from Vstrut is always taking care of so many different kind of area which is unknowingly for the people, and we are getting together, and that is in the future we should take so many this kind of achievements from all the peoples. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And hereby, I'm concluding that today's panel discussion webinar conference is completed. And let's see the upcoming the series of webinars, conferences, roundtable conferences, the panel discussion, anything come up from Vstrut, and get tuned to the Vstrut channel. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Vstrut team. And again, happy World Environmental Day to everybody. Thank you so much, and namaste from Vstrut.